everyone, on the road for climate action here. I'm actually standing with Doug Craig. We are in Redding, California. As we drove to Redding, we were passing just miles and miles of burnt forest along the way. Turns out this was all part of the car fire, which occurred not long ago, about a year ago. And Doug actually has some very sad stories actually related to the fires that came through here, and experienced it as badly as one can. If you want to speak a bit about that?
Well, sure. Yeah, July 26, 2018, the car fire burned about 1,000 homes in the Redding area in Northern California, and probably about 1/3 of the homes were evacuated. So a good 30,000 people, and we of course were evacuated. We had plenty of time, so we were able to load up 3 cars with as much as we could, and our home was completely burned. We were among the more fortunate. I'm a psychologist, and I was talking to a client today who was in the Stanford Hills area, and they did not have any warning at all. No warning. She was the woman in the house stepped outside to take some pictures because she could see what she thought was the fire in the distance, and suddenly realized that there was an actual home on the street on fire. It was coming for her home. They jumped in their car and started driving. They could not drive out the only entrance into the neighborhood because it was on fire, so they had to drive across the countryside as far as they could, and then they thought that was it, they were going to die, and instead they leaped out of their car, and they're in their 70s, and started running, she said, several miles as the fire is chasing her through the forest. And there were so many stories like that where this fire was a unique one in the sense that it was a very hot fire. It was 113 degrees that day, and yeah, it was devastating.
There's probably many stories like that that will never get told because they probably didn't make it out.
Yeah.
And
although we didn't lose near as many people, I think we only lost 8 people. That's a lot. But the campfire, of course, 2 months later, down in Paradise, which is about 70 miles from here, I think a good 80 people unfortunately perished in that fire. So.
Are people talking about the wildfires in the context of climate change, or are they still sort of separated issues in people's eyes?
We've done a couple events since the car fire here to publicize the connection between the two, and the usual people that come to our climate events come.
Yeah.
And I think others are respectful. You know, the typical person who is more conservative will talk about other reasons that contribute to wildfires, and they'll minimize the climate connection.
Yeah. Now, you lost your home in that fire, and I imagine many other people did. Where did people go when they lose their home overnight in that fire?
Well, all the hotels in the area were filled, and we stayed with my wife's niece nearby. But yeah, since the campfire, it's pretty horrible. There are many homeless people. Some people didn't have insurance, so they're in desperate state. Those of us with good insurance were able to either begin the rebuilding process. In our case, we purchased another home. We're fine, but yeah,
well,
some people aren't. Yeah.
Incredibly sorry for your loss and the loss of this entire community, but I appreciate you sharing those stories with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.